guys, this is Jennifer. Welcome to our show today of the Office 365 Pulse. We have got a special guest today. Corey Roth is joining us. He's going to be sharing with us some things about Windows 10. But first, we'll do quick introductions. My name is Jennifer Mason, SharePoint Server MVP. Love working with the business. Love hearing about things that are going on, but I think it's crazy the amount of updates that they give to Office 365. So just this last year alone, they had a little over 450 of them. So this is our piece of the puzzle to make it easier for you. So about every 2 weeks, we hop on and we share the latest updates from the Office 365 team, and then I usually bring on a special guest, and we have a topic of choice for the week. And so the show today is with Corey. So we're going to have a good time going through some of those things. I'm going to start sharing my sway. You guys should be able to see that. We'll be going through that. But Corey, welcome to the show. And why don't you give us a little bit of introduction on who you are?
So my name is Corey Roth. I'm also in the Office 365 community. Also married to you, as some of you all know. So right downstairs, actually, in another office.
My office is prettier, by the way.
Oh, for sure. My office is not nearly as decorated or whatever. Well, it's probably a little nerdier than yours. Anyhow, so I specialize in SharePoint, Office 365, and all those types of things, but also am a big device geek, so I'm into anything mobile, anything portable, anything that's got a screen on it, especially things with Windows 10 and, any kind of gadget that I can kind of play with. So I'm excited about some of the new things that are kind of coming this way.
Very, very cool. Well, let's just jump right into it today. We have a couple of, I'm not going to lie, as Corey and I were working on the sway for this, we started talking and we're like, man, there's really not that much cool stuff to update everybody on. And then we finished the sway, and the blog team must have heard us. They must have heard us talking about how there wasn't that much cool to talk about, because they launched like 2 or 3 things that were like, okay, we have to add this to our sway. And the last one was just this morning. So a couple of really cool things to talk about. First off, let's talk about Office 2016. Office 2016, September 22nd. So what is going to be new about 2016 in Office this time? And so let's talk about this concept of current branch versus current branch for business. And so if you're an Office 365 admin, which you probably are if you're on the Office 365 Pulse, this would be very important to you because it's going to dictate how you guys are deploying Office to your users through the Office on Demand, and where they can go into Office 365 and grab it. And so current branch is something that they implemented with Windows 10. And so basically what it allows you to do is the idea with always having the most up-to-date software is that every month you're going to get feature updates and security updates. What current branch for business does is it allows you to create more of a cycle. So every month you still get the security updates, but you just roll the feature updates every 3 months. And so that gives you more ability to test. And so we're going to let Corey kind of talk a little bit about his experiences with current branch and different things like that. But remember, there is a chat room or a question box where you guys can post questions for us. So if you have any questions for us as we're going through this, please feel free to post them as we're kind of talking about things. But Corey, what do you think about this current branch?
Well, I think the first thing to point out is that starting on September 22nd, for those users that are using Office on Demand, which basically, if you're not familiar with that, is if you installed Office by going to the website, portal.office.com or whatever, your main Office 365 portal, and you clicked on Install Office, and it showed up that way. This is especially big in small business, smaller SKUs. If that's how you received Office, come September 22nd or sometime thereafter, it's just going to show up, and you're going to notice Outlook and Word and things look a little different. And probably the most noticeable difference is the colors are different at the top. Word has a nice blue color, Excel has a nice green color, etc. It's not going to shut you down, or you're going to be like, whoa, what do I do? But you'll be okay. Now, for larger organizations, they tend to still deploy by pushing out a package to SCCM, which is System Center basically.
Yep.
And with that, that means you're not going to get the next version of Office 2016 until they're good and ready, right? Now Microsoft's preference would be to put you on the Office On Demand branch, so you can get these updates automatically, these feature packs and these in the current branch for business, but still lots of orgs, they have proprietary software that integrates with call systems and other things and stuff that really is what prevents most Office upgrades from occurring to begin with, and they need to go. So if you're in a larger organization, yeah, you're probably not going to just see this overnight.
I think the big thing for our users is just to know that on September 22nd, it's going to be available and it's going to be there. So if you have concerns, you can talk to your administrators and find out, how are they deploying it, and see if you guys typically have staged deployments of things and it's years later, you probably don't have anything to worry about. If you go to Office 365, so I'm running Office 365 on demand, I'll just get the update, I'm sure. I'm actually not running 2016 preview right now on my primary laptop because I had issues with it, not issues with the actual preview, but issues with compatibility of other applications, and so I just gave up. But it's a very solid build from everything I understand, but not too many drastic differences.
Yeah, it's not going to really look a lot of different unless you do a bunch of stuff with like Excel and Power BI and stuff like that, and really all that stuff's just a little more integrated now. You don't have to install some external things, so it's got a little thing at the toolbar at the top that helps you find things a little easier. Other than that, the differences are pretty subtle. Outlook has some improvements like groups show up. Clutter shows up, so if you're using features like that, you can actually see those in the Outlook client now, so that's kind of nice. But it's just very subtle set of changes. It's not going to really change your world. It's not a big jump like previous versions.
Yeah, it's going to be subtle changes and then consistent changes when they're rolling out new features. So I'm actually kind of excited about that. So I'm interested to see where it will go. I think they've got a lot of successes under their belt with Office 365 and how they roll out features. I think we can all agree that over the last year, they've gotten so much better at rolling out features and doing different things like that. So I'm sure they will be learning from that as well. Also with Windows and rolling out the updates, this is kind of the way of the future. So I'm kind of excited to see what's going to come of it. So September 22nd is our big day. As always, as stuff launches, IT Unity will have resources around it. Should anything come up, if there's anything crazy, you should be able to find it on the site and articles and different things like that. So it's just kind of a know it's coming. It's been out there for a while, but they put a date with it. So very interesting and exciting stuff there.
And if you want to try it now, you can, log into your Office 365 portal and, click on the area where it says download a client, and you can actually choose to download the preview version. It's not going to look much different now between now and next week, so don't worry about, installing some beta product at this point. It's not going to be any different, really.
Exactly. All right, so the next thing that we have is the ability to import data quickly into SharePoint Online and OneDrive. And so this is something that they've, this just came out today. They talked about it, I think, at Ignite or sometime post-Ignite, so they've been talking about it. But the concept is that you can ship physical drives to Microsoft and get them put on OneDrive or SharePoint Online, or you can upload data over the network. And so you go through this process of creating a manifest file and either putting the files in a location or sending in a disk, and it's meant to greatly increase the rate at which content can go. So while I'm opening up so I can kind of show you just what that screen looks like, it's now live in my tenant. Corey, you can maybe tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, this particular capability, it's been there for Outlook or Exchange for a little while now. You can ship in drives for a little bit, but we've kind of been wanting it for SharePoint and OneDrive as well. This is really for those big organizations that have terabytes and terabytes of data. Yeah. And although Microsoft's made a ton of improvements to the migration API, speeding things up to 30, 50 times faster than what we used to have, This is when you really want to move terabytes at a time and get it quickly on the Office 365. And so as Jennifer's showing you here, it looks very similar to the way you do PST imports. You click on the plus side there, and basically it says ship data on physical hard drives, and then basically what they do is they push it through Azure and it shows up in your tenant. Or if you upload it over the network, the same way, right? Based on this Azure key, and there's basically some tools you download, and that helps you prepare your hard drive. It has to be like BitLocker encrypted, for example, so in case your hard drive gets lost in the mail, at least you don't have to worry completely about all your data being compromised. So some level of protection. And you enter things like a tracking number and things like that, so they know it's coming.
This is also considered preview mode right now. So this is in a preview state, and it's available for free during the preview. And they've basically said it's going to be cost or services cost. There's going to be some cost associated with it once it goes from preview to live. So it's definitely, I don't know, they haven't shared what that's going to look like, but it's something that if you wanted to get a good idea of what it's going to be like, now would be kind of the time to embrace that and see. Now, I know this isn't going to work. This is one of those scenarios that isn't going to work in all organizations, so I totally get that. I can hear organizations laughing at the thought of sending their disk somewhere. I get that. So it's kind of clearly mapped out exactly what's going on, and if that meets your criteria and requirements, which it will for many organizations, they can send it. If you fall out of that realm, you can look at other options, but it's there and available and free right now during the preview. So a good opportunity to kind of take advantage of it.
If you have a few, 100 megabytes of documents or 100 gigabytes of documents even, I wouldn't worry about that. I'd look, for other ways to get your data there. If you have terabytes and terabytes and you have huge file shares that you're trying to get rid of, you should take a look.
Yeah, most definitely. So again, this just, the blog post actually just went live this morning. So this was one of those ones that we added just this morning right before we came on. So all very good news. Great to see them acting on this kind of stuff and seeing what's coming next. They're very busy behind the scenes, making all of this available. All right, so next up, this is a fun one because we have the availability of Office Online Server Preview that can be installed on-prem. All right, so I love that. So this is the Office Online, so we're using it right now with Word Online, Excel Online, PowerPoint Online, and if you're running it on-prem, the bits are now available for you to put down there. It's got some improvements with co-authoring, authoring features, performance, and stability, so some different things there, and it's meant to be part of your environment on-prem when it connects with Exchange as well as SharePoint and provides all of those Office tools for you to use. Corey, have you installed this in your 2016 environment yet?
No, I haven't installed it because it basically requires a whole other virtual machine and all that, and it's a little bit too much to set up on a personal environment. That I really don't need document previews that bad. The key to point, people really get confused by this, but it's called Office Online, and this isn't anything new. It used to be called Office Web Apps, or people call it WAC, or various things. Jeff Teeper actually announced this name like 2 years ago, back when he was still on the SharePoint team, in like a tweet, and he said, "Hey, we're calling this Office Online now," and none of the documentation necessarily caught up with it, right? Like you'd kind of search for Office Online, but it really wouldn't really wouldn't show up in search results. And so finally, I guess marketing said, "No, we're really calling it that," and now you're seeing all the documentation kind of show this new name.
Yeah, sorry. Speaking of Jeff Teeper and tweets, he tweeted one today that I thought was also pretty cool too. So I'm going to just pull that up on the screen. So yeah, you can download the server if you want it. The other thing, so Jeff Teeper was part of the SharePoint team, I guess, from the beginning, and he was on the team. Loved working with him. He was a great resource to have. And then he went on to mergers and acquisitions for a bit. And so just recently, he's come back to the SharePoint team, and I'm super excited to have him at the helm leading us again. And so super excited to see it. But he is a good one to follow on Twitter because he tweets stuff that you should pay attention to, which I think is super fun. And this morning he just tweeted one that said, exciting OneDrive news coming soon. The next gen sync across platforms and personal and business, so stay tuned. And he posted a picture of it. And so this is exciting. How long have we all been waiting for some updated sync client? And so with OneDrive, a long time. We have all been waiting about it. And so what's really cool about this is it's showing that we can choose what files to sync and different things like that. And so very cool to see Jeff talking about that and tweeting about that. So very interesting stuff. So we should all keep our eyes open for that. And again, just as soon as that's available, we'll get word out there and different things like that. So very cool stuff to see that.
Stated statement, I think, is, this fall, we're going to get the preview of the sync client. So, well, turns out, hey, fall's here. So, we'll probably be seeing this soon, right?
So I don't know. I waited on a solution in the fall for forms and workflow, and I'm sure it's coming one fall. Just not sure which fall. So fall is that season. I don't know what season that really is in Microsoft.
We have a screenshot though, so that's a good sign. So
a screenshot is a good sign, definitely. There's also another thing that he was tweeting about just this week was some UX designs, and he was tweeting about working on the new UX for 2016. And as my 2016 server is out, SharePoint server is out in technical preview. But a lot of times what we've seen in the past is the technical preview comes on and then they keep making updates and build to it. And then there's additional changes that go with it. And so some of the things that he had a big, I don't know if there's a whiteboard or a wall where they were looking at different things. So all that to say, great resource to follow on Twitter. We hope to actually have him on the show at some point. Don't know if we can make that happen, but we're working on it. But he's a great resource to follow if you want to hear and see what's going on from a leadership perspective, and he drops his little tidbits that are good to have. So sharing that, I'll move that off the screen now. Cool. All right. So the next thing that we have is System Center. So there are some management packs for SharePoint Server 2016 for the IT preview. So you can do just, System Center on different events and different things like that are now available. So if you're running that in that environment, you can use that as a monitoring tool. So I don't really have much to say about those except for they are here and available should you need them. So I'm pretty sure you haven't installed those either, Corey, because I don't think you have that set up in a home environment. Yeah, that might be overkill for him.
Nice that it's in preview, but yeah, I don't think that's really life-changing for anybody right now. So
no, but it's good to know that they have them. So there you go.
Yeah, what to say is it should be available when it goes launch, right? So
yeah, most definitely. All right. The next big change that has come up, and I don't know that this is necessarily a big feature functionality change, but there's a lot more integration of the Power Query and the Power BI and all of that natively inside of Office or Office Excel 2016. And so with 2013, there were a lot of things you had to install separately to get it all to work together. And in 2016, it's native. So I don't really think that this is a surprise to anyone. This is kind of how we expected things to go. But the announcement is there that they are there and it is different. So definitely something to know when we start talking about, oh, hey, what are going to be the differences between, Office 2013 and Office 2016? Some of this native integration to Excel is something that you or your users might notice.
You'll notice the new coloring at the top of the window, the Excel window there too, the green color. Like I said, all of them had that kind of distinctive color. But the ribbons and all that look very similar, so it's not a big UI change like we were talking about.
I don't even know if I would really notice the color that much. I'm surprised that you noticed the color, Corey. To be perfectly honest, I can't even believe that. It just doesn't strike me as something that you would even think about. But
it's not white anymore or whatever, so gray, whatever that color is.
Yeah, minimal enough that I don't think too many people will notice. But okay. So next up, this one is interesting. So Microsoft Garage project. So we had one with the Send, or it's like the chat one, and so we played with that a little bit a couple weeks ago. But they have a new project out there called Snip, which is in preview, and it kind of comes from the Microsoft Garage team, but it's almost part of the Office mix. stuff that's out there. And so it's a screen snipping tool. It's pretty cool. I have it installed here. So I can hover over and you can see that I can get a capture. I can do like a whiteboard of my stuff around it. I can do a camera. So I'm going to go over here and do just a snippet and show you guys. I'm going to do a snippet with Snip. But I can take my image here, it's going to do it for me and then open it inside of the tool. And what's cool now is that I can take my colors and I can highlight certain things. I can draw on it, color on it, different things like that. I can also copy it to my clipboard. I can share it. Yesterday, I was able to share it on Twitter and Facebook and other places. Today, I'm just able to share it with email. So I guess we'll blame that on a preview state. Maybe I haven't figured out why that option went away. I can save it somewhere. Then I also have my library. So here are all of the different samples I was doing. Here's a sample I took with my camera, which is just it turned on the camera on my screen, and then I could take a picture. And then once I'm there, you can do all of the other things. I could put a halo on my head. But one of the really cool things about this is the ability to record. So I can go in there, and it's actually recording now what I'm saying and what I'm doing, and it's saving it as part of the file. So if I was to share this with somebody, they could get the screenshot and get the the rich talking through it and different things like that. I think of when I have to send somebody something and I just want to explain it or something like this, this would be a great tool for doing that, or for taking notes or something along those lines. Corey, have you played with Snippet much? I guess it's not Snippet.
Yeah, I think that's another product. Yeah, not a whole lot yet. So soon when I have a blog post coming up, I'll probably give it a try instead of using the old Windows 7 snipping tool that's been around forever.
Yeah, I'm a big Snagit user. So you see I've actually got Snagit here, and then I've got the Snip tool here. I tried to start using the Snips tool, but just today I was taking some screenshots of some images that I needed to add into Balsamic for a mock-up, and the cut and paste wasn't working the way I expected it to work with the clipboard, and I went and did the same thing and tried to Snagit, and it did work. So I'm not totally sure, but they both sit there, and so I'm kind of trying to play with both of them. But what I do love is that this concept of Microsoft Garage and them coming out with these quick little helpful tools, and I think it shows a lot. And so I don't know if this is just an app for Windows 10. Does it go across multiple platforms? Do you know the answer to that, Corey?
I think it does. I don't think it has any Windows 10 dependencies.
Okay. So I wasn't sure on that, but it's there. They have a whole product site about it. You can get it, share your content, a very interesting little tool, free. So that's pretty nice if you need to do quick screenshots and stuff like that. Super easy to use. Okay. Next up, we have the Office 365 Service Trust Portal. So what this is anyone who's got an Office 365 tenant, their admin can go in to the Office 365 Service Trust Portal and log in, and then set up users within their organization that can run different reports. But this basically gives us our compliance reports. And so I'm going to pull that up. Corey, if you want to talk about this for just a couple minutes, and then I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is if like legal or risk management or compliance comes to you as an IT administrator and says, hey, what is Office 365 statement on this? When can they access our information? Who can they give it to, etc.? Do they meet this standard or that standard because we're in the EU or whatever? This center is really there to make things easy to find and easy for you to produce those documents.
Yep. And
they have industry-specific things as well, which is nice. And so you can be like, oh, this is our policy for finance or insurance or whatever.
Yep.
She's only got a few selected.
Yeah, I only have a few selected. And when you go in, you can select what industries you're in. Certain industries will actually require that Microsoft validate you, so like government dependencies and stuff like that, but then based on your industry, your different reports are going to come out. And so here you have the different reports, and then you can go down and click on it, and it's going to open it for you. So it's showing the different reports that we have. So we've got 8 compliance reports are available, so I can keep drilling down and you know, get into them and open them. Let's see if I can get one to open. There we go. So it's going to open it. It'll pull it up, and then I'll bring it over. It's on my third screen over here. Okay, so I see that the document is here, and it's going to go in, and it will have generated all of that information for me. So if you have a lot of these questions, and this is a great thing to show legal insecurity and to show what is happening and to meet some of those certifications that Microsoft meets with Office 365. These are the updates that Microsoft is putting into place to make this information accessible, to remove barriers to the cloud. And so when people say, you know, I can't go to the cloud because of security and because of these other things, I mean, these reports, they're here. All of this information is here. So Microsoft is constantly making enhancements and improvements to this. And so this is just another, it's another iteration of having these things available.
Yeah, a lot of this information's been around, but it wasn't really easy to necessarily find. Exactly. I mean, there was the whole trust center and all that, but this makes it really easy to find the documents you need just for your org. You have to log in with your tenant credentials, so it takes that into account, I think. I'm not really sure what it does with them, but you know, see another example here, you know, have, you know, Deloitte did an independent audit, and, you know,
yeah,
should, you know, help alleviate any concerns of, you know, entities inside your org that you may have a question about how Office 365 is handled in
exactly
the world.
Exactly. And there was in the blog post, so if you come on up here to the additional information, it says specifically in the blog post the certifications that it helps you know, respond to, that it's, you know, helps fulfill. And so some of these certifications that are down here, the ISO, you know, 27001, all of those are the different certifications that are fulfilled by having this trust center up. So it's, like Corey said, a lot of the information has been there and has been available, but now it is so easily accessible so that we can do with it what we need. And based on your industry and where you're at and different things like that, it's going to kind of push that information to you. So the first time I went in and set it up, I chose what region I was in, I chose what information, and then I could go work with it. And then you also have the ability in here to go into settings where you can go in and set up other users within your organization so that they can go in and run specific reports as well. So pretty cool stuff. So that was announced and was made available just yesterday, I believe. All right.
So I guess the last thing on the list for Office 365 stuff before we shift to Windows 10 is Project Server 2016 hitting IT Preview as well. So if you didn't know this, the Project Server bits are actually integrated into the SharePoint Server 2016 bits. So basically it's one install. So they tried to simplify that. It doesn't mean you have a license to use it, right? So you still have to license it separately, just like you would before. But the nice thing is you don't have to have a whole separate install and worry about, you know, those pieces.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And so the next up in this way, we have the case study section. So we're not really going to spend too much time going through these, but I think it's important and, you know, easy for you to read through. If you see a company that's similar to your industry or different things like that, you can kind of read through and see. But they're putting out case studies like one every other day, it seems. And so there's a lot of different case studies there highlighting the use of Office 365. So definitely things for you guys to check out and see to get ideas of what people are doing. But now we're going to kind of switch into the second half of the show where we're going to talk through Windows 10. So we're going to go through with an update for that. And so Corey has been pretty close on the ground since this bad boy came out, even in previews and different things like that. And so we invited him back. He came back, or came on the show several months ago, I think, and kind of gave us an introduction to Windows 10. But we wanted to bring him back since Windows 10 has been out for a couple months now, bring him back and just kind of share with us some updates and different things like that. So Corey, I'm going to let you kind of take over for a little bit and share some Windows 10 knowledge.
Sounds good. So yeah, I've been running Windows 10 for a long time, to the good times and the bad. When we first started out, it was definitely very rocky when we first started, and that was to be expected because they released it to consumers earlier than they ever had. But as a result of that, do this Windows Insider program, which is basically just the people that are signed up voluntarily to join, be a tester of Windows in its pre-release phases, and it's still ongoing. We'll talk about that shortly. But there were over 7 million people in that by the time we got to today. I mean, 7 million people touched Windows 10 outside of the Microsoft org before, it went live on July 29th. Today, the last reported install count is 75 million. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since they've announced that number, so I think there's a suggestion that the number's probably pushing 80, 85 by now. Microsoft only releases numbers on that from time to time. But the key thing to note is, that's a significant portion of market share already. Windows 7 is obviously still the biggest, but it's already greater than, all of macOS, for example, combined, right? So every macOS user, there's already more Windows 10 users than there are macOS users.
So, Corey, is it all a bed of roses? Have people been having a good experience with it? I know I've had a little bit of pain with Office, but that seems to be predominantly, but still that's painful. I've uninstalled and reinstalled Office, I think 3 times. But how about others?
Yeah, Office is a good example. I think I've installed it throughout my Windows 10 life cycle probably 5 or 10 times, but that's also because I was running a beta version of Office on top of my beta version of Windows, right? So I'm asking for trouble. And that's fine, Has it been perfect? No, absolutely not. It definitely goes on better devices than others. But what we're finding out a lot is, first, if somebody has an issue after they install Windows 10, they immediately blame Windows 10. They say it's crap or whatever. They did that with Windows 8, and they did it with Windows 7 and Windows Vista, etc. In reality, more than that, it's your hardware and your drivers. And a lot of times, it's simple as that. A lot of times it's video drivers, right? And Microsoft identified, I remember me sitting at a PDC back when it was PDC, when they were first talking about the features that were going into Windows Vista, and Microsoft basically called out the video card manufacturers saying, you are the cause of like 95% of Windows crashes. Like they had some alarming statistic. And it still holds true today. Video drivers cause problems in systems, hands down. Now, I'm not saying Windows 10's perfect, flawless. I've certainly had issues. Sometimes it doesn't want to unlock or whatever, or, whatever it wants to do. Sometimes apps crash. Especially if you're using some of the native apps like Edge or the Mail app or something like that. Sometimes they just crash without warning. Now, who do we have to thank for apps just crashing without giving you any notification whatsoever? Do you have any idea, Jennifer, where that started?
No. Let's see, what are you going to tell me?
So that started with iOS.
I should know. Oh, goodness.
We have Apple to thank for that, right? So when you open an app on iOS, and instead of telling you why it's crashing, it just crashes. And consumers have accepted that now. And this made its way over to Android a little bit, although Android tells you usually why something's going wrong. But it made its way into Windows world as well. And so thanks to Apple, Windows apps now think it's perfectly acceptable to crash and not tell you any reason why as well. So, long tangent there. Some people are going to have issues, right? For sure. I have seen cases, I was following Jeff Shuey, in one of his cases, he had a laptop, put Windows 10 on it, was having all issues, like his USB wasn't working, all this. Finally, he's like, I'm rolling back. And I don't know if he actually did roll back or not, but finally he figured out, oh wait, it's not a Windows 10 problem. Like, there was a hardware issue in his laptop. He returned it to the store, went out and got a different kind, and it worked great, and now he has great things to say about it. So
for organizations, though, I know I fully get it can be a video issue, it can be a driver issue, it can be all of these other things. But how are you seeing in organizations? Have you really seen any organizations really embracing Windows 10 yet? Or if they're in the planning stages, what should they be doing now to prep for it? What should they be thinking about? What have we seen so far? Just, questions like that.
yeah, organizations are always going to be slow to move, right? They were slow to move on Windows 8 for sure. They were faster to move on Windows 7. And obviously there's testing. You have to build your new image and things like that. Although Windows 10 Enterprise has things where they're trying to make the whole imaging process kind of go away. And we'll start hearing something about that because some of the enterprise features are kind of lagging a little bit, but we're going to start seeing them. So they're trying to get past that whole imaging concept. In orgs, they also have, we talked about Current Branch in Office. You had the ability to do the same thing as well through what's something called Windows Update for Business, where you can control when feature packs go to users. I think we're going to see an era where people expect new features to hit the business faster than they used to. This is partly caused by devices and things like that coming out. If you look at the orgs that do have Windows 8 at all, it's there for one reason, and it's probably because of the Surface Pro 3. And I've seen a number of orgs, while they're still shipping out Windows 7 to all their laptops, all those people in the field or all those executives or all those people in IT that want, a Surface Pro 3, which has done quite well in the enterprise considering, it's all running Windows 8.1. So they've learned to adapt to it, right? Obviously, these things take a lot of planning, and it's easy to say just boom, update, but obviously things are going to take some degree.
And I'm guessing the announcement that Satya made about Dell and them being able to push services directly through their channels where they provide enterprise devices, I imagine that might help push some of this as well.
So with Dell and HP pushing Surface devices as well, they're the large account, resellers, right? And so they're the ones providing hardware to companies, right? It's usually Dell, Lenovo, HP. Those are probably the big three. Toshiba to a degree. With them being able to sell Surface, that means companies and suppliers aren't having to go someplace else, because I've talked to customers where that's really an issue. Like, the procurement process does not like having to go outside of, this is where we get our devices from and we lease them, et cetera, right? So by doing that, it's going to push these devices into more places as well, even though they're directly competing, right? Even though they have cool devices, which is further down in our sway.
Okay.
So I did want to highlight some of the devices, because there are some cool devices coming out for both consumer and enterprise. The top one up there is a new one from Acer. This Toshiba Satellite Click 10 is a device that it separates from the keyboard. It has a full real keyboard, a little more substantial than what you have on the Surface Pro 3, and it has like 14 hours of battery life. So
wow,
lightweight.
That's a lot.
It's impressive, right? The ThinkPad Yoga, you've seen Yogas from the various Windows 8 era. They've come up with a new iteration that's supposedly thinner, lighter, more powerful, and all that. And then Toshiba also has another device called their Satellite 14 Radius 14. That particular device is very similar as well. It flips all the way over. All devices that are going to be, very portable. There's also a bunch of, on the consumer side, a bunch of gaming rigs coming out. Microsoft's focusing hard on gaming in this release. You can stream video games from your Xbox One directly to your tablet sitting outside on the porch. Right, it works pretty well. Very cool feature. Is that an enterprise feature? No, but it's still pretty cool for those gamers at home. That includes TV and stuff too. So if you're watching, you got a TV tuner hooked up to your Xbox or something like that, that means you can watch TV anywhere in your house, right?
We actually do that quite often. We're guilty of grabbing a glass of wine and a Surface and going and sitting out in the beautiful weather in Texas. We're laughing with a group last night at the SharePoint for the user group. How it's fall in Texas, and so it's back below 90 degrees now in the
Barely.
evening. So yeah, barely, but we're still going to take it as a win. So we'll go sit outside now and a lot of times grab a Surface, and so we've actually used that feature quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a great feature. If you have an Xbox home, it's definitely worth it, whether you're a gamer or not. We have an Xbox in our house. We don't really use it for gaming at all. We don't let our kids touch it. But we use it as a media center, and that means you can access that media center functionality anywhere in the house, especially for live TV, which is really what's cool, because that's a little hard to do. Sure, you can stream your Netflix or whatever to whatever tablet you have, but streaming live TV, a different story.
Yeah.
The last thing to point out on these devices here is that there is a Windows 10 devices event in New York coming up on October 6th, where we expect a lot of new things from Microsoft to be announced. If there's a new version of the Surface, we expect it to be here. If there's a new version of Windows Phone, which we finally expect we'll probably see this fall, we'll see it there as well. So that one will be a good one to keep an eye out for, because I think we'll see new devices coming soon.
Do you know if they're live streaming that event, or is it just going to be invite only? Do you know?
They have not talked about any of that. So
Okay.
obviously it's invite only to get there. I think if it follows anything like in the past, like when they did the Surface 3 announcement last year, that's where we saw Panos Panay, kind of the father of Surface.
And that's how I heard about this event. He was tweeting it about this event you're talking about.
Yeah, I got to see him speak in person before. He's a very good speaker, very passionate, makes you almost tear up as he's talking about the new hardware, right? Very cool. And we got to see him a little bit in Redmond, which was cool to see him in person, because he's just very casual, very frank about what's coming. So anyhow, I suspect that will be available on a live stream if they follow what they've been doing last year. Obviously, they want to generate hype and frenzy about the new devices, and I think we're expecting to see some good devices. Don't know what they're bringing yet. Lots of speculation, of course, but we should expect, I would think, both hardware and phones announced that are first party for Microsoft.
Very cool. I am positive that you will be sharing information about that, which kind of leads us to, we can come back and ask some additional questions there, which is this guy. Kind of leads right into that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this? This is very exciting, something I know you've worked hard on.
So yeah, we're happy to announce that we're launching a new devices channel, specifically for Windows Surface and Windows Phone on IT Unity. This new device channel will be aimed to be your one place to go to get content on everything that's coming out, and so we'll hit it big with the November 6th release and give us your thoughts, our firsthand experience, and why we think it's important with these new devices. I think there's a lot to be said, a lot to be shown. We're going to see a lot of things coming. Microsoft, they're kind of waiting for the buzz from Apple to die down with their release of their new device, so they're very smart in the way they released it. So looking out there, we've got a lot of great contributors. It's not just me. We got some great content from Eric Riz as well. Dan Holm chimes in as well quite a bit. So keep looking up there for our unique and exciting Windows content.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I love with you playing with all the new devices, because that means I get access to them too. So
I suppose that's what that means, yes.
Yeah,
And we
works
have
out
no
well.
shortage of Windows devices in our house, that's for sure. I
That's
suspect we're
just,
getting a few new ones soon, so.
I hope so. I hope we're getting a few right after that announcement, but we will see. We will see.
Yeah, I suspect we'll have several weeks lag time after that announcement. I'm guessing they're trying to make it before the holiday season. Um, I think the timing's interesting because I think from the way I understand, we talked about stability earlier of the platform. MJ posted something recently. She's kind of waiting for not just the next update this fall, but the next update in February. And what we kind of put together is, the hardware vendors pushed Microsoft to kind of get Windows 10 out earlier than what we probably think they were originally planning, which is why it came out at the end of July. But if you look at you notice there's no new Surface out right now to go inside with the Windows 10 event, right? So I think if you look at where things were going, I think Microsoft was originally planning, an October, November release for Windows 10. Um, and so I think we're finally going to see the culmination of all that work coming together between phone and tablet and device and hardware,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
all happening at the same time. And so October is going to be an exciting time. I expect everybody, is going to have lots of devices of one type or another to show off come November.
Well, I'm very excited about what's coming with Surface. With the phone, I'll believe it when I see it. Even
Agreed.
if they have one there, I'll believe it when I see it in a store or when you can go buy it. But I kind of really like my iPhone right now, so not even sure that I would switch. We shall see. But
Right. I mean, even with phone, even if some of these things come to it that we expect, I think it'll be a solid device. I think it'll be interesting.
mm,
Um, I think, it'll be curious to see where this kind of Android stuff goes with it.
right.
If From the things I've been reading on Android, people have already managed to hack Android applications that work directly on Windows Phone 10, which is pretty interesting. So, that could mean that anything could work on Windows 10 without um, any work. Now, maybe compatibility varies because of various things in the device, but really, you look at the recent acquisition of that new lock screen provider they bought for Android. I can't remember what the name is. But Microsoft's investing a lot in Android, and there was also another announcement that they may be, I don't think it was an announcement, but a leak or something like that, where they were putting, embedding Cortana natively into the Cyanogen OS, which is also something they've been investing in heavily. So if you look at all these little Android tidbits, you can kind of see the writing on the wall.
Pretty cool. So Daryl Webster shared in our chat room. Thank you so much for sharing that, Daryl. I think the event is going to be live streamed. And so I imagine a lot of us will be watching it, live tweeting what's going on, and then follow-up articles I am sure will follow on IT Unity. So we will definitely keep you guys posted on the different things that are coming. We're kind of wrapping up some of our time right now. And so I wanted to leave a couple of minutes if there's any other questions that we have in the chat room. It seems like things are going pretty well with Windows 10. It's getting a lot of traction. People are using it. I've been using it on my device. I never ran a beta of Windows 10. So I waited
Right.
until it was launched, and then I upgraded to Windows 10. The only issue I have had has been Office, but let's be perfectly clear. I run every version of Office, and I am having compatibility issues, but I'm pretty sure that is because of the way I'm working with Office and the different pieces I have. I don't
True.
think that has really anything to do um, with that necessarily. So that's really been the only issue that I've been doing. And there's been a few things that I haven't been easily able to find that I'll holler at to Corey and say, oh my gosh, where do I find this now in Windows 10? I completely miss my charm a lot. I use that thing all of the time. And so now that that's not there and I can't do the same things, I think that's the only thing I miss in Windows 10. But I might
Yeah,
be the only
Microsoft
person.
found that people didn't really use that very well. It wasn't intuitive to users. So yeah, for people to get used to it, it was great. But yeah, um, most users had no clue that the charge menu was even there or why to use it or how to use it. So They wanted to move like things like the settings menu and search and things like that natively into apps themselves, so users didn't have to go hunt down those icons or buttons.
Yeah. So, Corey, there's a question. I'm going to read it from
Sure.
Kevin in our room. It says, I have heard or read somewhere that CYOD, choose your own device, is the new BYOD. Is there anything specific that you know about or haven't already mentioned that our customers should be made aware of security-wise if you're considering CYOD? And then overall, in your opinion, do you think the CYOD term or acronym really became part of the real dialogue in discussions with CIOs and directors in regards to their future and their infrastructure?
So when it comes to devices, Windows 10 definitely has some things built into it on the enterprise suite side of things, especially for devices. So I think one thing, if you're kind of into that, those concerns, is use of Enterprise Mobility Suite or one of the competitors. But EMS makes it really easy to do and puts everything in one place. And specifically, what it can do is lock down Office applications. So it's the only MDM out there that can actually protect Office applications natively.
And Carl, let me interrupt you for just a second. For anybody that is on the chat and maybe doesn't know what these terms are, EMS is Enterprise Mobility Suite, and I didn't catch it, and MDM is Mobile Device Management. So it's the concept of doing securing the devices, and it's part of Office 365 and Intune and some of the other features that are there. So go ahead.
So yeah, the nice thing about Enterprise Mobility Suite and its mobile device management features is that it works on all the mobile device platforms, iOS, Android, and all that. So you can let your user choose, and basically what happens is they log in with the Intune app they download. They sign in with their Office 365 credentials, or Azure AD is really what it is. But and after they sign in, it pushes all the apps onto their device. It applies a profile that says what they can and cannot do, gives you the ability to remotely wipe the device should they leave or they lose it. And it also gives you the ability to put your own apps on there as well. So it's a really nice user experience. Best way to lock down mobile devices and not worry about it. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
And one thing that I would add is Fast Track. So Fast Track for Office currently has an EMS Fast Track running. So if you're interested in doing something like that, if you're an organization with over 150 users and there's some criteria and stuff like that, you can work with a partner and work with the onboarding center to go through some of the experiences to get there. So it's a great opportunity that if you have this, BYOD or CYOD, I actually like the CYOD acronym a lot. If you're starting to have these conversations and you're starting to have it with senior leadership, you can point to these different tools that are there and then even take advantage of some of those things. So definitely reach out to us if you have more questions.
And Dan reminded me of a few points as well. First, Microsoft's really trying to get rid of the password, especially in enterprise. When you install on a new device, you might have noticed it says passwords or so yesterday, enter a PIN for your device. And I was like, why would I want to use a PIN, a 4-digit PIN? Why is that more secure? Well, it can and can't be depending on how you use it. But the interesting thing is by using a PIN, that means your password's not going to be the same as what you're using on a website or something like that, or your AD login or whatever like that, which means you're not entering those credentials in, which keeping those credentials safe, from people using it. So it's only, it's local access, as Dan points out. There's a few other things that they're doing on the enterprise as well. There's something called Credential Guard, which basically, allows you to enter credentials in a basically secure protection of the operating system. And then there's another thing called Device Guard, which basically when a user goes and downloads something, it's isolated in a virtual machine, and Microsoft makes threat deterministics on it as well as your AV provider or whatever like that. And it keeps, the goal is to keep it from, infecting your system if it determines it's bad. So we'll have to see how well that works, but it's very interesting. Again, on the whole password front as well, uh, you've probably seen or heard about Windows Hello, which is basically using a 3D camera in your device to automatically log you in. Um, this is only on a handful of devices right now, but it's coming to more. We suspect it will be on new devices like Surface and Windows Phone as well. Have no knowledge of that, but everybody's kind of suspecting that they'll be there. And that will, really make security a much better experience for users if they're not having to like write that password down on a piece of paper when like you don't want them to, right? The nice thing is through a new service called Microsoft Passport, not to be confused with the old Microsoft Passport, which is now Windows Live, Microsoft account, etc., right? But this technology will allow you to use Windows Hello to log into websites, which is very, very cool. So obviously it's going to take a little while for all that to kind of pan out since the 3D cameras aren't in all devices yet, but they're showing up. And I think we'll see in the next year more devices with those 3D cameras on it because it's a great way to do authentication.
Yeah. It's really cool stuff. I mean, wrapping up, I think that, they've been saying forever that it's a mobile first, cloud first world and all of these different things. And we're starting to see how all of these pieces are coming together and how the devices are complementing the tools and how the experiences are just so much richer. And so it's a really cool time to see it kind of all pull together. So Corey, we totally appreciate you coming on the show and giving us an update. I am sure that I will convince you to come on the show again and give us updates about future topics. We've got the channel now where you can find this information. We will definitely be covering that launch and getting out additional details there. So kind of to close things out, we have two things to cover. You can always join into the Yammer conversation that is there on the Office 365, the network where everyone is there talking about things that are going. Microsoft is in there quite often, product team members, and definitely things like that. So definitely join the network, get connected, share your voice, do all of those things. And then on our next show, which is 2 weeks from today, which I believe is, I don't remember the date, but one of the guys can tell me the date and I'll get it out of the chat window. But on our next, it's the 30th. So our next meeting is on the 30th, and we have invited Rob Vogue to come on the show with us. So we'll do, just like always, an update of the newest features that have launched in the last 2 weeks. And then Rob and I are going to do a conversation about user adoption and getting people to use and adopt to the systems and different things like that. So super, super excited about having Rob on the show. So completely look forward to having everybody come again. It's been a great time having everybody here, and we appreciate you guys and look forward to catching you guys more on IT Unity. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.